By late 1862, the American Civil War was locked in a brutal military stalemate. Casualties were mounting at places like Antietam and Shiloh, with no clear end to the fighting in sight. At this stage in the conflict, President Abraham Lincoln maintained a strict, publicly stated goal. He was fighting to preserve the Union. Ending slavery was not his official objective. As he wrote to publisher Horace Greeley, if he could save the Union without freeing a single slave, he would do it. Lincoln adopted this stance to appease the border states, slave-holding states that had remained loyal to the United States government. But this purely political framing created a massive vulnerability abroad. Because the Union defined the war strictly as an internal dispute over political borders, European empires had no moral barriers stopping them from intervening to protect their own economic interests. Across the Atlantic, the British mercantile machine was suffering. The Union Navy had thrown a blockade around the Confederacy, cutting off southern ports from the rest of the world. This chart shows the dramatic collapse of raw cotton imports to Great Britain from 1860 down to almost nothing by 1862. Lancashire held a third of the country's textile factories. Without southern cotton, the mills shut down, and hundreds of thousands lost their jobs. British Prime Minister Lord Palmerston watched his economy fracture. For him, intervening in the American conflict to save the British textile industry was an active strategic debate in Parliament. In our timeline, Lincoln's cabinet eventually persuaded him to issue a specific document. But what if he had listened to his more hesitant advisors? What if he never drafted the Emancipation Proclamation? Removing that single decree erases the only ideological barrier keeping the British Empire out of the American Civil War. Without a moral crusade against slavery explicitly tied to the Union cause, Parliament evaluates the American conflict purely on economic terms. They see a crushed supply chain that requires immediate correction. By 1863, Palmerston makes his move. He aligns Great Britain with France, and together they officially recognize the Confederate States of America as a sovereign nation. With the Confederacy recognized, the Union blockade becomes an act of war against British merchant ships. Palmerston sends the Royal Navy to clear the lanes. Trade resumes. European rifles and artillery flood southern ports, while cotton flows directly to Liverpool. In a matter of weeks, this sequence grants the Confederacy rapid economic salvation and guarantees them an infinite stream of military resupply. Back on the home front, the Union faces a severe logistical crisis of its own. Historically, the Emancipation Proclamation provided the legal framework to accept newly freed slaves into the armed services. Without it, the War Department never issues the orders to establish the United States colored troops. That means the Union Army misses out on the 200,000 black men who historically enlisted in the Army and Navy. Deprived of this vital influx of troops, the North finds itself fighting a strategically impossible two-front war, battling a fully resupplied Confederacy on land and engaging the British Empire at sea. Outgunned by European imports and drastically undermanned, the Union military effort simply collapses under the mathematical weight of attrition. Unable to sustain the fight, Lincoln is forced to capitulate. The Confederate States of America secures its full independence. But the South doesn't stop at securing its borders. Fueled by their restored monopoly on cotton, the Confederacy leverages its massive wealth to pursue an aggressive, expansionist foreign policy. They project their power southward, annexing Latin American territories like Cuba and Nicaragua to replicate and expand their slave-based agricultural model. To secure this vast territory, Richmond establishes formal strategic alliances with the world's remaining slaveholding nations, particularly the empire in Brazil. Lincoln's silence on slavery partitions the continent and creates a global superpower committed to the expansion of forced labor. Fortunately, that is not the timeline we live in. On January 1, 1863, Abraham Lincoln did sign the Emancipation Proclamation. In doing so, he shifted the entire incentive structure of the war. He intertwined the survival of the United States government with the absolute destruction of slavery. This moral pivot trapped Palmerston and the British Parliament. Because the European public was fiercely abolitionist, entering the war on the side of the Confederacy was suddenly political suicide. The decree served as a diplomatic shield, making any British move to support the South an endorsement of slavery, a price the Prime Minister's own public would not let him pay. Lincoln's signature saved the United States by making its enemies' intervention impossible.